CORSO and Catone.
I think, well, listen, Mark, listen, hold on. When I say, would you have caffeine today?
What the hell is that up to?
Presented by Special Sauce Podcast, Studio 42 Design, and CORSO Law Group. Now for the real deal New England feel, CORSO and Catone.
Welcome into CORSO and Catone, the real deal New England feel. I'm CORSO, subbing into the game.
And I'm not Catone.
Subbing into the game today. Subbing into the game. Already you're going to try to steal it? Really?
Subbing into the game, he's saying.
Subbing in as a backup in the game. We're not taking over the show is Joe. He is with us pulling double duty. Thank you, Joseph. And
like a relief pitcher over here. Yeah,
you're with us on YouTube, iHeartRadio, a Apple Podcast, or wherever you podcast. Then check us out on Twitter, of course. Our heated hotline, Joe, 855-313-PATS. Give us a call, 24/7. Leave us a message. Anything is on the table. Have a take. We want to pick yours, so make sure you have a take and call us 855-313-7287. Hey, we have a lot to get to today. We're going to talk Celtics quest for 18. We have that weekly rewind. We're going to go Corso's crisis today. Stick around for that. And, of course, our heated hotline, we'll hear from one of you in the nation. Yankees versus Red Sox. We're back in that. We have that on the table again. And in Real Deal, we got our OTA reaction. So, Joe, welcome.
Yes, welcome.
I like your background there.
You like it? I tried to make it a little bit patriotic, with little Patriots and little Patriots hats or whatever they are.
And for those of you who don't know, Joe is with me today. Joe is out in Arizona.
Yes. I decided to go get some sunshine,
So that's my helmet. Let's make it clear whose helmet that belongs to, okay?
I might put it on later on in the show, depending.
Old school.
Depending if everybody's
Mark's always torturing me about being, old school, listening to things like the Doobie Brothers. Anyway, so we got a lot. Been a great week. Even though it's June, there's still a ton to talk about, and nothing more than the Celtics. So, are we ready to do that?
I think we should be ready to do that. So,
let's get to it. Weekly rewind, Joe.
Yeah.
Going back through the week. About a weekly rewind. So game one is in the books. The Celtics defeated the Warriors in Golden State, 120-108. And my eyebrows and eyes are raising up because I don't know that too many people expected that, but
that's
were you surprised? Were you surprised with that? What are your reaction to it? Was this a surprise for you?
Well, I mean, was it a surprise for anybody? I think it was, because I don't think anybody expected them to, win how they won and how much they won by, but to win it all. I didn't even, first of all, can we kick back to last week's show and go, did anybody expect them to get in except for you guys? You know what I mean? And the Boston fans to be there in the first place. I mean, let's talk about that.
Because that's all you're hearing, right?
Right.
I mean, look, all you heard before was, Golden State's fantastic. They're great at home. I don't think they've lost a playoff game this season at home. So I think the general thought around was Celtics are probably going to lose game one. Golden State's going to come out full of juice. At the beginning of the finals, you're getting announced. Okay, so you're getting announced. They do the big fanfare thing in the arena and all that crap. And so for them to drop game one, that is surprising to most people. I think it is surprising to most people. Now, some people are going to act like they knew that was coming to whatever. I will say, if you go back and listen to us, okay, that, I've been saying it, that I think top, because both teams play probably 8 players, roughly. And I'd say top to bottom, top 8, I think the Celtics are a better team. I've said it coming in. I think they're top to bottom, just a better team. And so am I shocked and surprised that they did this? No, I'm not. I am a little surprised that it happened in game one. I really thought Golden State would take them to them in game one. they didn't do that, especially given the fact that the way the game kind of went. You didn't really get what you thought you'd get from Tatum.
Right.
And he didn't show up, and he didn't play as well as we all think he can play and should play. And so that's surprising.
Is he ever going to? I think the question you guys have been asking, and I'm going to keep reiterating to the fans out there, as far as you guys are concerned out there and listening to Corso and Catone, because you guys have been talking about him from the beginning, whether or not he can lead the team, not lead the team. Is he able to do it? Will he ever get there? Is it Brown? Is it him? Who's gonna take control? Is it him? Is he ever gonna be that guy? Or do they need that threesome to just move forward?
Well, okay, so I think he is. I mean, we've talked about his that demeanor, that the way he conducts himself, brings himself to the table. And he's not a fiery guy. He's not a rah-rah guy. He's not a guy that's going to get in people's face and all that stuff. So he's going to have to be a lead by example guy, right? So when you talk about, is he going to be the guy? Well, let's talk about what we saw in game 1 versus just generally. So, he doesn't have a lot of points. Let's see. He in 42 minutes. Where are his points? Come on, Chris. It's 12 points. So he's got 12 points, but he had 13 rebounds. That's a number that I stuck out in my head. So he's contributing in other ways. So no, he's not getting his points clearly, but he's affecting the game in other ways. And to me, that's showing up. That's a superstar also. That's not having a good night. Now, I don't like the people that are coming out and basically saying, oh, yeah, he's still a star. I mean, you got 13 assists. That helps. Look, he's going to have to score.
Right.
In this series, he's going to have to get his, period. I mean, you can't win this series with Tatum getting 12 points a game and 13 assists. It's not going to happen because the other guys aren't going to shoot like that.
Do you think that's a trend, that he's following that trend? Is he going to be that guy to now become like,
Well, we've seen it, haven't we? We've seen it in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it in other games in the playoffs where he'll have a fantastic game, then he'll come in, and at home, too, it happens. And he'll just show up and lay an egg.
Right.
The difference with this game than some of those others, there was a game he had 10 points, but he didn't have the assists. He basically went into a shell. And that's what you worry about with Tatum and his mindset. Don't forget, he's 24 years old, too. Now, he had been in 3 conference finals before this, his first NBA finals, but he is 24 years old. However, you worry about him going into that shell. In this game, he didn't do that. So I'm encouraged at the fact that he made his presence known in some different ways.
Which to me, looks like the potential of having what we've talked about in the past of having that big 3. And every team pretty much usually comes down to having that big 3. In this case, him, Brown, and Smart, right? But are they in that the idea of the big 3? Is he, let's say, the Larry Bird or the Garnett or the Pierce? So can he do that? Can he be one of those guys?
Yeah, I mean, he needs to be. I mean, when
we know he needs.
Well, you talk about good. Okay, well, you talk about those guys. You talk about Bird. So in that era, when Bird, Parrish, McHale,
right?
Yeah, he would be playing the Bird role. He would be playing the Garnett role. Except the difference with him is he doesn't have the same kind of mindset. He's not that fiery guy. I mean, Garnett was a nut job. I mean, he was out there crazy, and all this other stuff going on. I mean, no, you're not going to get that from Tatum. But
let me ask you this:
but the finish though is
I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry, just be quiet.
Yeah, just shut the hell up, Joe. Okay, go ahead.
So no, but seriously, when you say big 3, people are reluctant to say there's a big 3 here now because of Smart. People just won't give Smart that third guy status. I think you can now because defensive player of the year, what he brings to the table, and I think he is that spark, like he claims to be, the emotional spark. So yeah, I think you could say there's a big 3. The difference between all of those guys you're talking about is the experience.
Yeah, well,
when those guys came into Boston, Garnett, Pierce was already there, Allen, these guys were vets. These guys came in as veterans who were trying to win a ring. These are homegrown. What we have today is homegrown guys. Guys that have been here from getting drafted and now working their way up. And so it's a big 3 in the making, I want to say. still
And
think
so,
they need another piece, but go ahead.
my question about that is, in you mentioned Garnett as the bird type. Was it him or was it Pierce?
No, it was Garnett, because
Yeah.
Garnett was the star. He was the scorer. He was the guy that can put it in. Pierce was a leader. Pierce was fantastic. I mean, she could shoot, could get to the rim, get to do it, But as far as NBA and talent, Garnett was the guy. Garnett was the guy, and he was the vocal leader. I mean, when they were in those huddles, Garnett was laying on Rondo. I mean, really, really busting his chops all the time. And if you listen to guys like Perkins, who was the center on that team, he'll tell you the same thing. I mean, nobody really mentions Pierce when they talk about that leadership, that main guy. It's always Garnett. So, no, Tatum's going to have to be that guy. He is. But, again, I like how he contributed, but it's going to have to get better.
Yeah.
But with that, even with that, okay, you take aside the Tatum, for 1 second. God, I'm pleased and encouraged with what the hell these guys did, what the role guys did stepping up. I mean, Pritchard, Horford, White. Man, White is having he's having an MVP type 2 series. I mean, he's shown up in a real big way. I mean, coming off the bench, I'd say he's their 6th guy. I mean, 21 points. He averages about 14. So that's fantastic. And I think, can they keep this up? That's the
question. I mean, and like they're going into it now, because like the question about can they keep this up, I think you're leaning into the idea that can they keep this up as a team moving forward. But like, who goes? We want to win the gold now. We want to win the gold. They want to win the championship now. Can they do it right now? Is the question.
Yeah, you have to.
Because nobody cares about silver. Like, I mean, they got to win the game. That's the thing.
No, no prizes for second place.
No prizes for second place here.
No, but I think along those lines, you say, can they keep it up? Well, you need 3 more wins. This is not a during the season kind of conversation where it's like, okay, we need to improve this situation so that when we get to the playoffs or we final stretch of the season where, we're right there, we're on top. This is not that situation. This is Band-Aid it, do whatever you have to do, sneak out wins, scrape out wins, do whatever it takes to get 3 more wins. That's it. That's all it takes. And I don't know, when I step back now and look at both teams,
that's the question.
So now you have to say to yourself, well, okay, which team is going to be that team that just does anything it takes, whatever it takes, to get those 4 wins? And now for the Celtics, 3 more. I got to tell you, man, I look at the Celtics and I look at their mentality and the road they had to take to get here. With Brooklyn and Brooklyn, they swept them, and I get it. They were a mess. But you still had 2 of the best players in basketball on that team, Durant, Kyrie. And you had to deal with all that talk and all that nonsense that's going on.
But I think that's part of it, though. I think that's part of what made them go down. You know what I mean? And in this scenario, there's a few on the other on the Warriors who do that too. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. And so the road that Boston had to take. I mean, then going through Milwaukee, who we thought, Mark said it too. That was probably the NBA Finals, the Milwaukee versus Boston. To see who wins the whole thing. It was a shame that they had to meet in the semi, not in the conference final. But then you got the Heat. So I think the road that Boston took versus Dallas and some other teams that Golden State had to play, battle-tested more so than Golden State. So I think Boston's a scrappier team, and I like that because that's how you scrape out games. They went down 13 points, Joe, in that game. Coming in, they had a terrible third quarter, Boston. But then they come and outscore Golden State 40-16, I think, in the fourth quarter, and just shut the door on them. And Golden State had no answer. So you flip it to the other side and say, does Golden State have enough to get down in the trenches and dig out a win when they're going to need to do it in Boston? Because they just lost home court. So Boston's had to protect court, who they've had trouble doing. The Celtics have had trouble winning at home. They're great on the road in the playoffs, but they've had trouble winning at home. can Golden State dig down to do it? I know they have individuals.
Yeah.
I know they have individual guys that can get it done. You know, Curry, Thompson, Wiggins. These guys, you know, they had their points too. You know,
yeah, but even Michael Jordan needed a team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even Michael Jordan needed a team. Even Larry Bird needed a team. Even Magic Johnson needed a team. And I know I date myself. I date myself in a small wedge in the 80s of those teams, because that's I feel like where basketball really kind of stuck in my brain as far as like what truly basketball players were all about.
Well, Bird and Magic saved
Bird
the
and
league.
Magic, but like all of what Mark usually talks about too, of the fire of those players, and you know, the Pistons and just the whole thing, just a nitty gritty sort of basketball. And now it's kind of like mez, you know. But some of those players on this team, you know, Corey can do it, but like, can he do it alone? I don't think so.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, he had 30 points. You know, he at the beginning of that game. Okay, I mean, he had 34 points. So, you know, and his 3-point shooting was 7 for 14. So he's 50% from 3-point. I mean, that's, you know, even for him, that's good. But here's the thing. Curry's going to do what Curry's going to do. You know, he's going to score those points. He's going to be. He may not shoot 50% from 3-point, but he's a hell of a lot more capable of doing it than Boston's going to do it collectively, which is what they did in game 1. You know, he can shoot 50%. I think he's going to give you 40s, which is extremely high percentage for 3-point. But when you look at the numbers, Joe, I mean, you're talking, okay, you know, for Boston, their field goal percentage, you know, just shooting from the field, you know, they were 50% shooting. That's excellent. You know, Golden State wasn't that far, but they were 44%. So the shooting was good. When you go to 3-point, Boston was 51% from 3-point range. And a lot of that came in the second half and in the fourth quarter. You know, Curry was 50%, but they were 42%. I think that Golden State has more of an ability to maintain that high 3-point percentage in the 40s than Boston does to get up to that 40-50. So, you know, can I guess the long and the short of it is, can Golden State play better? Yeah, they can play better, especially in that fourth quarter like that, because they kind of died in that fourth quarter. You know?
Yeah, they kind of lost a few.
Curry was missing shots too.
But do you think they died because of you know, their attitude that they thought they were going to win, or you think they died just because they lost gas or you know, just didn't have it, just didn't have the plays? And I do have a question about that, having the plays as far as it goes in coaching too.
Yeah.
Does coaching even matter at this point with guys like that playing like that? Does it matter?
Yeah.
What are they doing out there?
To me, at this stage, it shouldn't make a difference. But see, if you asked me that last series, and even in Milwaukee, I would have told you, no, it doesn't matter as much. In fact, I think Mark did say that. That no, it doesn't make as much of a difference. But when you get to a final, you're talking about two teams that aren't, you know, they're not used to each other. They don't play. I think they play twice a year, you know, something like that. You know, one there and one here, or two there or two here, something, you know. And so they're not as familiar with each other. They're just not. So now the coaching comes in, some game strategies, how you're going to defend the three. And in like this game, in this series, Boston's mindset's completely different. You know, when you were playing against Milwaukee, you had to worry about the paint. You know, you were willing to give Milwaukee 3-point shots because they were terrible. Their 3-point percentage and their field goal percentage was terrible. And so you had to protect the paint. In this series, completely flipped. Golden State, and Mark said that Golden State's one of the best shooting teams, if not the best shooting team in the league. And if you give them those shots, they're going to hit them. And you saw that in the first half of that game. They just drained them all. Curry's going to hit shots he shouldn't, that nobody should. But generally speaking, Thompson and some of these other guys, Wiggins, they're going to hit those shots. I mean, Iguodala came off the bench. All of a sudden, he's, you know, if you're going to let that guy beat you, you know, you should pack it. I mean, that guy shouldn't be hurting you.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So I don't think I'm not too worried about him, but they can hit their shots. So the mindset changes. So to answer your question in my long, drawn out way of doing it,
That's okay. I think the fans like it because you know what it is. I pretend I'm the fans, and I want to hear from you. I want to hear what your thoughts are because I think a lot of our fans, we've had some questions come in to our email too, and I'll present that up later on in the show. Our email, people want to write into us, which they have, and had some questions.
Always
some people
plugging.
always
Plugging.
plug, always going to be plugging. But I mean, they've had some questions, for Chris to explain some things. His vast knowledge, oh wise one, your vast knowledge of some of these sports, and Mark too as well. But some of those questions I have too. You know what I mean? As far as like who's doing what, coaches, why do they matter, all that sort of stuff.
But to finish this with the coaches, Joe, is look, I'll give you a moment in the game because I honestly, and people think I'm going to be crazy. I think that coaching, the nod goes to Boston in this situation. I really do. I don't like Steve Kerr, though. This is why I didn't even like him when he played for friggin' Chicago. I'm a little gnat. I want to slap him in the head. But anyway, no, I mean, there was a moment in this game, they were having a lot of trouble defending the 3-point shot, Curry specifically. And there was they mic them up. They put the microphones on guys, and so when they're in the huddle talking, you can hear. And Marcus Smart was discussing that with the team, explaining to them, well, this is what we need to do. We need to start high. We need to start defending high up and then drop down to the paint versus come up on the 3-point shooter, okay? And when they started to do that, it got better. They missed a few. They weren't trying them. Curry deferred on some of those where he would normally have shot, and then he passed off. Okay, that kind of analysis and breakdown in the huddle, that's coaching. And I hear Doka doing the same thing.
Okay.
Flip side of that, you hear Steve Kerr in his basically saying in that fourth quarter when things were going south, I didn't hear any X's and O's. What I heard was, "Hey, we're in good shape. We just got to hit a couple of shots. Got to get a couple stops." But I think we're in good shape, and that to your other question, which was the Golden State's mindset and their confidence.
Right.
We're in good shape, and then they come out of that huddle and they proceed to turn the ball over, and Horford hits a 3-point shot, and the game's basically over. That's not coaching.
No, that's just like, hey, rah, 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 let's go, we can win. You know what I mean?
Right.
That doesn't help in this scenario. And that's why I ask you that question is as though, does it even matter when you're giving those sort of things? Because it never mattered when I played sports. I'm like, oh, okay, great, thank you. I needed some focus, something specific.
Somebody give me a lifesaver here.
Give me something.
I'm over here trying to, I'm dying out here. Help me out, coach. But that's, to me, that's, what we can see going forward, and I want to get your prediction in a second as to who you think wins and how it goes. But but did you hear the reaction? Did you watch any of the pressers after the press conferences with Draymond Green and some of these guys?
No, I don't even listen. He's a jerk. I just don't like people with that arrogance. You know what I mean? And his arrogant attitude towards, like, he just had that flippant sort of way about him, like we're gonna win. That sort of feeling. I'm like,
and they still had it. They still had it after the game. Draymond Green, and then we're cutting short here. We got to get going. But Draymond Green comes out basically like no big deal, and he's looking at the stat sheets and he's going, 15 to 21, 15 to 23. You had the bench guys. You had White, Pritchard, and Horford combined for 15 out of 21 or 23 in 3-point shots, and he's looking at that saying, yeah. Those guys had that. He kind of giggled a little. He's like,
yeah.
We'll be okay. Okay, you're going to be okay? Because, again, we just talked about this. They only need 3 more wins. This is not for the future. This is for now. Right. How many times are you going to? Curry was the same way. We'll go. Don't freaking sit there and tell me, Curry, Draymond, Kerr, all these cool customers over there. Don't you tell me that losing game 1 at home in the finals and you just lost home court advantage isn't a big freaking deal right now. Isn't. It's you know what I mean? Of course it is.
Has he ever lost that game 1 ever over there?
I don't think so. Certainly not in a final.
I don't believe he is. I don't
think they've lost a home game this playoff. So that's got to be a shocker to them. Yeah. That Boston can go in there and do something like that and close when it's time to close. So, okay. Who wins, Joe?
Well, part of my finishing off
game 2's tomorrow.
Game 2 is tomorrow. But part of my addition to what you're just saying is that flipping attitude, that arrogance. Yeah, we're gonna win it. We're gonna do it. I know you're gonna have that, but I feel that's a mask, because right now Boston came in as the underdog, and I think the underdog's going to take it. Not just because I'm a biased Boston fan, but because they got the fire right now, and they need to keep it going, keep that fire lit and going, and then close it out and done with it. We're done hearing about Curry.
Well, that's listen, that's the thing Boston's had trouble doing, is putting back-to-back games together. They've done it now in 2 series where they have put back-to-back good games together. Game 6 and 7 and so on in the last series. Can they do it again? And can they protect home court? Because they haven't been able to do that. So I think the Celtics are going to win this game, but I honestly think it's going to take another win in Golden State. I think they're going to drop one at home because they seem to have that kind of, and geez, when you watch the home crowd in Boston, they're doing everything. I've never seen a crowd do everything they can do to urge that team to play better. I've never seen anything like it, and they couldn't do it. So let's see if they can do it. Let's see if they can hold court at home. But I don't think they're going to shoot. They're not going to shoot 50% from 3-point range. That's not going to happen. Those 3 guys are probably not that I mentioned. That probably won't happen. But if you can keep it in the high 30s, low 40s, I think you're in good shape. And you only got to do it for 3 more times to get it done. Yep. But I don't think Tatum's going to have a game like that again. So to me, they win, and they win in 6.
We're hoping for number 18 to get up in those rafters. So.
That's we want that. That quest for 18. And let us know what you think in Heated Hotline. Give us a call. Weekly Rewind was presented by Special Sauce Podcast. What's your special sauce? SpecialSaucePodcast.com. Hey, when we come back, Joe, Corso's Crisis.
Let's hear it.
Right after this.
It's the Special Sauce Podcast. You liking this song? This sauce is good, man.
This start out as finance. Train them, trust them, and let them lead.
With your host, Marcus Aurelius.
Okay. So, and Joe, keep it on the double here, because this is going to be our crisis today. Because I know you're going to agree with me on this. And by the way, when Mark sees this, he's going to be, oh no, this is going to take over. There's going to be
it'll be next week's Catone's comments.
Yeah, next week Catone's comments will be, I don't like Corso's Crisis. Get it off the friggin' air. Right. Okay.
What is the crisis? Let's hear it.
Well, I'm going to tell you. Parents of children just piss me off to no end. Okay, specifically in sports, activities, things like that. Have you ever experienced a situation where you're either coaching in a game, even a parent watching your kid play, and they're about somewhere between 5 and like 10 years old, in that range? Because after 10, that gets competitive, and you're watching these idiots and these fools, okay? Watching their children, who are, by the way, out in the field, court, diamond, stage, wherever these kids are, they're picking daisies, they're spinning around, they're talking to each other, throwing their glove up in the air. They don't give a shit at all, these kids, about what's going on out there. But the parents, why isn't my kid playing? Why? Yeah. Well, my kid should be playing. That's always a famous one if you're a coach.
I had that one. I had a group of kids. I was coaching soccer one time. 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, whatever. They're out there. One kid just didn't want to play. He's like, he was scared. I'm like, you got to go out there. Just try it. Get out there. It's fun. Get out there, whatever. No. Father came up to me after the end of the game. Why is my kid playing? Why don't you put him in there? I'm like, well, the kid doesn't want to play. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, strong arm him, put him in a headlock, throw him on the court. Like, he just doesn't want to play. What am I supposed to do? But he's like, huff and puff. I'm like, bro, first of all, I was 15 years old at the time too. I'm like the kid's 5. I'm 15. I'm doing this for like extra credit or something,
And the official, and when you're refereeing, a game, if we guys that I know that in high school were umpires or refs or things like that, and the crap they're giving to the officials. Oh my God, I've never seen anything like it.
Hang on.
Dude, the kid's 7. No, hold on. The kid's 7 years old. He's 7. The score, like, what do you care? The kid's having fun. He's playing good out there. Whatever's going on, you're giving it to the friggin' referees. These guys don't even know what their own name is.
That's what I'm saying.
They're getting like $20 a game to do this shit.
Yeah.
Standing out in 110-degree weather.
You're calling them officials, and they're going, that's a 15-year-old kid. He's just doing that, for like $20 for an hour. He's going to he's going to go spend that at McDonald's later on.
There's a guy, right? And flag football was the worst.
Here it is.
The worst I've ever. At least in tackle football, you're away. You're like further away from the people. So they can bitch and they can. Although I'll tell you what, I had an undefeated championship team, okay, and we're in the playoffs, kicking the living crap out of this team, okay. So I'm putting backups in. I felt bad for the other team. We were beating the living hell out of them. Plus, I wanted the game to go longer. I hear from the stands, "Are you going to call timeout? Why don't you call timeout?" I'm turning around. I'm like, "Can somebody go get this guy a friggin' Dr. Pepper or something? Leave me the hell alone right now." But anyway, flag football, okay. So I got this kid, and, he's one of these kids where good athlete, but, he had a lot of growing up to do.
He sucked.
Which is no, he didn't suck. He was a good athlete,
Oh.
but he had a lot of growing up to do, right? Which is fine. At 8, 9, 10 years old, I get that. That happens. Evidently, the father's got a lot of growing up to do too. So I'm standing there now. What you're trying to teach the kids, in these situations is, look, part of a team concept, all these kinds of things that go along with life lessons, how you perform here, you can utilize now that. So one of the assistant coaches, this one kid, couple of kids, they would come off the field and they go sit with their parents, okay, instead of being on the sideline. Now, in flag football, the parents are about this far away from where we are. Okay. I mean, that's about, and for you on the radio, I'm looking at about a foot, 2 feet. That's it. 24 inches. That's how far back they are. So they're right up your ass. Okay. And so now what happens? Kid comes out of the game. He goes over to his parents. So finally I say to one of the coaches, I said, the next guy that goes, because we're telling them not to, the next guy that goes to sit with their parents, they got to come out of the game for a while.
Oh, really?
Because they got to learn,
Yeah.
So the guy, I'm talking to the coach, not anybody else. I'm walking down the sideline. Here comes the father of one of the kids that's doing it, of this athlete, this kid, who, by the way, every time he hits the ground is crying. So, so the guy comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, what's your problem? What's your problem?" So I looked at him and said, "What are you, like, what? Who are you?" And then he's like, "What, they can't come and sit with us?" I said, "No, look, I said, we could talk about this after if you want, but, I said, look, I want them with the team. It's the team concept, all that." And he's like, so now he's like pissed off and like getting mad at me and carrying on like a fool. And I said, finally, I leaned in and I'm letting him go. And I leaned up to him. I said, I can understand now why I'm seeing what I'm seeing. What are your kids? So why don't you sit down? But this is what you get. And the last thing I'm going to tell you, with the biggest fool I ever dealt with, okay, was at the end of the championship year. Okay, yeah. Tackle football. I got the guys on the 50-yard line. We're talking. Everybody's happy, whatever. The backup quarterback, who, mind you, has never played football in his life, we turned this kid into a pretty good backup quarterback. He played some. Most teams even play at all. These kids were about 13. All right. So he comes up to me at the end of the game, comes out to like the 50-yard line, out onto the field.
What?
Okay. Yelling from the sideline out.
Awesome.
Why didn't my kid play? Why isn't my kid playing? Comes up and bumps me in the chest, Joe. Boom. What? He hits me like this, right? So boom, hits me in the chest. So now, you know me, people out there don't as much, but that could have been a real problem. And so bumps me in the chest, and I'm just standing, I'm shaking my head. Now I'm looking at all the other kids are on the sideline watching this, my team. And then my son's watching it too. He's on the team. And I'm thinking, no, it's time to be. I have to be a good example. I can't be a bad example.
You have to.
You know,
bring
so in
it
other words, I
down.
can't go and stuff this guy in the dumpster right now, like I really want to do. Put him in a
reel it
trash
in.
can. I
Gotta
can't do
reel
that.
it in.
Right. So I said, look, I'll talk to you about this after, whatever. And I grab one of the other guys. I said, get this guy out of my face right now. I can't do this. Is what drives me freaking crazy, Joe. Drives me freaking crazy. And for girls or boys that perform on stage, like pageants and crap like that. Have you seen these people?
Oh yeah, don't even those people. I don't. Those people are on another planet, another level. I mean they cake them up in makeup and prance them around. I'm like,
you look like Gene Simmons.
Gene Simmons. Whoa, Gene Simmons.
Yeah, like Gene
Most of our
Simmons
listeners out there from Kiss, everybody.
Yeah, well, you know me, 70s, 80s.
Yeah,
They look like, and then the parents, the moms, the dads, whoever, they think their kid is like in the Russian ballerina over here, in the Russian ballet. They think kids spinning around, doing wrong things, cute as hell. I mean, but they're doing other things. They're not even paying attention. They're all spackled up with makeup and all this other stuff's going on. Yeah. And the parents friggin' swarm the stage. It's like put the light on and roaches run away. You know what I mean? They all swarm the stage with the video cameras and all this stuff. I have the new iPhone. I bought the iPhone 14 so that I could come to this event and video my star who's going to end up somewhere someday. Oh, my God. Listen, people out there, do me, do every coach on the planet, do every official on the planet a favor. Stay home. Don't come to the games. Send somebody to video it and leave us alone.
Send the mediator representative of your team, your family team.
And that's it. And that's the crisis for me because it drives me nuts.
We're gonna have to add in a few more of these, Well, some more CORSO's crisis for sure.
Much to Mark's dismay, CORSO's crisis was presented by Jag Media Productions. And hey, listen, I think it's time to hear from. I've heard enough from us right now. I think it's time to hear from one of you out in the nation in Heated Hotline. Are we ready for that, Joe?
We could be for sure. Let's give him a wash. I like that.
We could.
Hotline.
Short and sweet.
It is. Shay from Providence. We appreciate that call. Yeah, listen, and we're going to be getting at the Yankees Red Sox in about 30 seconds. So I'm glad you put it here in this spot, and I'm sure you intended to do that, so it would work.
I put it right there, and I added a little bit of this background music just to get the mood.
Can you get the CORSO's crisis off the friggin'?
Oh yeah, we could do that. A lot of things going on here today. And,
it is. You're doing a bang-up job. Fantastic, Joe.
If I can find it, we'll get it up there.
I agree with the caller. This is a big market team. The Red Sox are a big market team. $200 million payroll. Listen, $200 million payroll. You bring in Hein Bloom, who's a small market guy. He's a smaller market GM. Take a team like Tampa Bay, okay? Tampa Bay Rays. They develop the farm system, draft well, all those kinds of things, and then guys go make money somewhere else, That's not Boston, and that's what they're becoming.
Yeah. And not to mention, they're kind of ruining our thing here, our segment. I'm gonna have to change something here because we're trying to do a Red Sox Yankees rivalry segment to bring back that rivalry between the two teams. And when they suck, I got no wash here. You know what I'm saying?
And hey, listen, and Joe is nothing if not about the washes.
Love the washes.
So if nothing else, Boston, will you please get on the stick because we need to play the proper wash. But no, it's true. Listen, you can see it happening at first base. Well,
why do they suck? What's going on?
Well, there's a couple of things. Okay, as far as the management goes and the philosophy of what the caller is calling about.
Yeah.
It could be one of either ownership is basically saying we want to spend less money. We want to be under that basic salary cap, luxury tax.
Okay.
It's either something like that or it's just the GM's mentality. It's just what he is, how he's built and what he's used to. I mean, you could see it happening at first base. Every big market team has a great first baseman.
Everyone.
Great, a good one, a money one, a guy that can hit, somebody like that. Boston is void of that for 2 years now, for 2 seasons, which is a lot. You got Dahlback over there, and you got Frenchie Cordero, who's a goddamn disaster at first base. So you got that happening. What they're doing to Bogarts, the shortstop, I mean, they're going to nickel and dime him, and he's going to be gone. He's going to opt out, and they're not going to re-sign him. They're going to use the excuse of paying Devers, which is a small market mentality, So yeah, it pisses Yankees fans off. Red Sox fans off. It would piss Yankees fans off too, but it pisses the Red Sox fans off, and I don't blame you for being pissed off because that's where they're going. They're heading in that direction. So getting cheaper guys.
They got.
That's the point. That's the problem. They do have the money.
You know what I mean?
Well, they're putting it all into the soccer team in Liverpool.
Oh, that's why.
and the Penguins.
That's why.
And the Penguins hockey team. So, yeah, no, listen, Shea, you got to make a great point. I think you're speaking for all the Red Sox fans out there when you say that, and I'm a little nervous for them, too, that it's going to go down that direction because this is year 3 of Hein Bloom. They should be winning more. This should not be happening. They should be a much better team than they are right now. I mean, you went from 2018-19, winning in the 90s, 90 games, to 100 games, a World Series, to now this. Because right now they're 25-27. So, that's a problem. And you know what? That's a perfect segue, Joe. Heated Hotline was presented by Studio 42 Designs. This is a perfect segue into Yankees versus Red Sox, I think, because we got to expound on all of this, and let's do that right now, Joe.
Oh, let's do that. I just love that Tugboat Harbor sort of. Let's get these two on the map here again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So let's stay with the Red Sox. Okay.
Yeah.
As I said, they're 25-27. Looking down, at the reasons for this. And Mark and I have had a lot of, Mark's the guru. I mean, he's the baseball guy. But I don't think it takes a ton to recognize what the hell is happening with this team. And to me, the biggest problem is that the bullpen sucks.
I mean, yeah, that's it.
I mean, the back end of this, they have the most losses in the league, most second blown saves.
I was just going to say that second most blown saves. Yep.
And they
or
can't,
leads rather.
Yeah, and they're just bad. And the closer is they have no closer. And so I don't know if that's fixable. I don't think they can fix that unless they make major moves. But the problem is when you're 25-27, you become sellers, not buyers at the trade deadline. So now you're going to hover in that situation where are we trading for guys? Or are we trading away guys? Because Bogarts is one of these guys where if you're not going to sign him, then trade him.
Yeah,
there will be a team that'll take him on a rent basis and end up paying him, what he's supposed to be paid to play shortstop.
It always gets sticky though in a situation like this is because when they're not performing and they're not winning and not technically not playing, like how much stock is in a player at that point when they're not producing? You know what I mean? I know they're not producing as a team as a whole, but then when you have to sell somebody off, like he's part of that whole, whoever it is, what value are they?
There are certain guys, that will say, well, team's not playing well, but we know we can get something from this guy. And I think Bogarts is that kind of guy.
Okay.
That max guy that other teams are going to look at and say, yeah, okay, whatever's going on there, but I know he'll give us the what we need over here. So, but again, these are the problems. But the bullpen to me is the biggest issue. That's the biggest issue. They can't hold a lead. And by the way, when they're down, when they're trailing after 6 innings, they're 1-16. So they're not, and that's the next problem with the Red Sox to me. I mean, Trevor Story and Mark's talked about this. You listen to these friggin' clowns, the local Mark media who Mark loves to torture. Okay, he's right. They're talking about Story can't hit the ball. All I keep hearing is he had trouble with the fastball. How about the location? Like Mark says, away pitches, not on away. Can't get there. He can't get out and hit those pitches, take them opposite field, do anything like that. He has trouble with that. I don't know if that'll turn around. But defensively at second base they had 2 errors the other night. and it's routine. They're always having these errors. So the back end of the bullpen's horrendous. Starting pitching isn't that bad, but the back end's horrendous. And here's the other thing. Mark made an argument last week or the week before about Martinez. He's one of the top in the league in hitting and all this. I have a problem with their hitting, okay? Because there's no clutch hitting.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's only when they're leading, though, right?
Exactly. When they have a lead, you see the stats being padded.
Yeah.
I mean, I just gave you the stat. I mean, they're down after 6. They're 1-16. So they can't hit in the clutch. I mean, they're not hitting when it's time to hit. They're not moving run. Joe, they had a friggin' I know, I'm sorry. They had a game.
Well, he's been known to do that. He has been known. I will say this. He has been known to just jump in online on the call as we're doing this live.
Yeah. But
from time to time.
But here's the thing. There was a game the other night. I don't remember who they were playing, but they played in a game the other night. They had they were down 1 run late in the game. They had first and second, no outs. Now, you're telling me you can't get that run in from second to tie that game? All you need is 2 fly balls. They don't have to be hits. 2 fly balls in the outfield, the runner's home. And now you're tied up. They couldn't get that done. They couldn't get, and they had the meat of their order to do it, and they couldn't get it done. So to me, those are the 2 issues. So for all you out there talking about Yankees versus Red Sox and this rivalry that's in the toilet right now because of what the Yankees are doing, I mean, I don't see it happening. Usually when you get to Memorial Day, if you're not in a place where you can make that run, you're probably not.
Is it over for him? What do you think, though? Is it over if they're not in that spot?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah?
Yeah, because they're gonna have to sell, they're gonna have to gain pieces in order to fix the bullpen, and I don't think they can do it.
Yeah.
I don't think they want to do it. We just talked to Shea about that. About the small market mentality. You think they're going to go now buy guys out there at the trade deadline? I don't see that happening. Do you?
It almost becomes one of those things again where it's like, aren't you playing for this season, this series, this now? Belichick does that sometimes too, where it's like, who are you playing for? When are you playing for this futuristic sort of team? Isn't it now always? You know what I mean? And they always say that it is. But yet they're doing moves like that. And you're like, okay, I don't get it anymore. Yeah.
Well, again, and conversely, the Yankees, we'll talk about them really quick. They had a little dip. They came back to reality a little bit over the last couple of weeks. Trickled in a couple of losses there. They weren't reeling off 10 wins in a row, things like that. But Judge is having he's having
What did I tell you? What did I tell you? I called that. Because he's having one of those free agency sort of seasons. You know what I mean? It feels like anyways. But that stuff sort of creates this sort of momentous virus feeling that the team now is winning. And then you go, is it him? Is it that? Is it Boone? Right?
Oh, don't make me say it. I tell you what, with Boone, he's managing so much better than Cora right now.
And speaking of which, I just caught wind of this that Girardi's out on the outs in Philly.
I love Girardi.
They're gonna bring him back.
Like Philly's going to win. Like Philly's ever going to win anyway. I mean,
but I love Girardi. I'm talking about the Yankees. They got to bring him back.
I don't know.
Girardi back in the team.
But Boone's not using analytics. I mean, he's coaching from the hip, which I like.
Yeah.
So
I do like that. And they're top of the league right now. What are they? 37, 38, and 15, something like that.
Yeah, 38, 15. They're I think they're two ahead in the whole MLB. And I think maybe 2 or 3 in the American League. But Judge, 20 home runs already. He's on pace for 62. I don't think he's going to hit 62, but he'll come back to reality a little bit.
That would be awesome, though.
But they should have given him the extension. Now they have a problem.
I know.
Pay that man. Be like Deion Sanders. Pay that man. Right.
But you knew that was coming. You knew that was going to come, which to me, though, as a fan, you go, I don't care. I love that coming again because we're here as fans to say we want to win it now. You know what I mean? We don't. We get you guys need to be paid for what you're basically your theatrics out there. Be paid for it, sure, but win the games.
Yeah.
Bring us the trophy.
Well,
Bring
they're
us
doing
what-
it. I mean, they're winning
Yeah,
the games,
so
and it
that's
is
awesome.
contagious, Joe. I mean, you talk about that. Is it contagious? Well, they're getting hitting guys, Rizzo, Torres. They're getting timely hitting. They're getting small ball. It isn't just monster home runs. You're getting that from Judge,
Yeah,
yes, and
right.
you're doing it with the Stanton's typical trip to the friggin' DL, the disabled list or the he's always hurt. So they're getting that done, and they're getting it done with pitchers. I mean, Cortez is 6-1. He's got an ERA that's under 2, and he's the leading Cy Young candidate, as of right now. So I mean, they're getting it from all ends, and I think that their bullpen, the bullpen's good. It's cooled off a little bit. Okay. Chapman goes on the IR. But a new closer steps up. This Clint Holmes, I think he can be something too. So we'll see about all that. We're going to have a lot more to say. I'm sure Mark is listening to this.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's going to want to come in and put his 2 cents. And
I'm excited I'm excited. It's finally because this group, this core group of players, it took them a little while, don't you think? To get to where you feel like they should have been for the last 2 years, at least. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but it's good to see as a Yankee fan to go, all right, now I'm excited, and as also as a Yankee fan, I will say this about the Red Sox is what we were talking about earlier, is that the fact that, I'm probably maybe a small percentage that enjoyed the fact that when the Red Sox finally won, and then got to where they are now as far as having the money to compete, it brings back that rivalry that's real. And I love that. I always love that sort of stuff in sports because, what else is there? You know what I mean? But anyways,
it's good for those parents that are on the sideline. So
yeah, exactly.
Yankees versus Red Sox was presented by CORSO Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. CORSOLawGroup.com. Allow us to be your voice. Hey, we're going to talk OTA, if anybody knows what that even is. And we're going to do that in Real Deal right after this.
It's that time again for a timeout for a message from one of our sponsors. No one ever thinks they will be in the need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. CORSO Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people all across this great country who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. So whether it's a traffic ticket or if you need reduced DUI or more serious issues, call or go online to CORSOLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys who I know will help you. CORSO Law Group.
Back in with more Corso and Catone, the Real Deal New England Feel. Okay, should we be excited or worried with what we saw after OTAs? That's the question.
Well, first of all, for some fans out there, we did have some people write in and ask some questions like, "What the hell are OTAs?"
Well, can we do the wash first, and then we'll?
And
then we'll deal with
it. For a second, I was going to ask you the same.
Shut up and let me set it up, okay?
Oh, okay. Here we go.
We're gonna be now. Listen, let's get the real deal. We'll talk about it right now. What are you writing now?
So I'm working over here. You're talking about nonsense. I'm working.
That's why we are the Real Deal New England Feel. It's going to be real.
I was going to have to superpose my face over Mark's for that wash.
Joseph?
So the question that I have, yes, we're getting into is, as you mentioned, what are the OTAs? What the hell are they? Why are they necessary?
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you. They're organized team activities is what.
Like what? Like arts and crafts? Like what are these guys doing
they
out
get there and see if they can get build a pot,
Okay.
So, no, I mean, they're out there. They're in shorts, T-shirts, helmets. They're out there running drills, and they go individual positions, and they run the drills, work on a lot of conditioning, and then they come together in what they call 7-on-7s, which is basically all the skill positions: receivers, defensive backs, linebackers, running back, quarterback, and they run a lot of offense, defense. No linemen in that. Linemen are off doing other drills, and then they bring it on 11-on-11, run some plays, a lot of talking, a lot of walking through things, and trying to learn the playbook, trying to learn what we're doing. Not so much at this point situational football, but more so let's get the gist down. That's really what what those are, what's happening in that.
So when they're going through this now, and I can see how that's useful for, like, let's say rookies and such, but we've heard from Thornton and Jones and stuff like that. But like, what else are they looking for in these OTAs? Like, who looks good? Who doesn't look good? Is that what they're looking for?
Yeah, yes, and no.
Or
I mean,
just to teach them and learn and get.
That's
their
what
feet
they're
wet?
looking at. And
Okay.
it's good for the rookies, yes, but it's also good for the veterans too, because every year really is a different animal. I mean,
Okay.
because you're the playbook may be the same, but maybe some nuances, but you're melding and mixing. The NFL is so much movement in the NFL now that you're mixing guys into your roster every single year. And as much time as you can get in teaching, learning physically, you're going to benefit from it, in my opinion. But it is more of a teaching situation, is more of a X's and O's kind of, this is our general concept, this is how we do it. Are they grasping it? I will say that I give more worth to it, I guess you would say, on the offensive side of the ball than the defensive side of the ball.
Okay.
Simply because you want to know why, don't you?
I do. I mean, I thought you were going to go into it because because like it's an open-ended question, because like the question then becomes like, like I said, who's looking good? Who is this thing even necessary? Then once you get the down answered points that you just made, now who's looking good? Can we take anything from what we're seeing now? Or are we just bored? Just kind of like, we got to throw some football stuff in there because we're in that in between because it's June. You know what I mean?
Well, I think the fan interest and the sports talk interest, it has, I'm sure it has something to do with that. Yeah, I mean, it's June. It's June 4th, and training camp comes. I'm dying. Like, I get to this point in the year, dude, and I can't wait. Freaking training camp. Let's go. I want to see pads on. Let's move. Even at the high school, we're over there working same kind of OTA deals all June, 5:00 in the morning practices. Anyway,
that's nice.
Yeah, it sucks. So, yeah, I mean, you can get things. Well, let's just keep it to the skill guy. Let's keep it to wide receiver, defensive back, because those are really who people look at. And for me, and Mark's been up on this guy a lot, Thornton is the rookie, wide receiver, right? So I think they say he's looked great. He gets a lot of 50-50 balls. He's running that. He's just speed, and more speed. But the thing that people are really happy with are his hands, his ability to show himself to the quarterback, to make a good target. And again, he has small hands, but strong hands. So he will take those balls out of the air away from defensive backs. Now, I say that, and Parker too. Devontae Parker, who's the new receiver they traded for. They say he looks great, and I thought he would. I think he's a good receiver, a real good receiver in this league. Not elite, but down in that, right at that next level. So I think he's going to be good too. I say that the offense gets more because look, you're learning the plays, you're learning route combinations, you're learning route trees, you're trying to figure out how the offense works. Okay, it's without the pads on as a wide receiver, it's less of an issue without the pads on as a defensive back.
Right.
Okay. Because you can still work a lot of hand fighting as a wide receiver, how to get off the line, what your first steps are, how do you get off press coverage, those kinds of things. And your crisp route running and how you show your hands, all the things I just mentioned. But for a defensive back, physically, it's fine. Conditioning, it's fine. To figure out how I turn my hips, how fluid I am in doing things, that's fine. I turn my hips really
How
well.
do you turn your hips?
My hips. Features for me. So,
Don't make me laugh. I lose the camera.
So, and we're running out of time. So,
yeah.
But like people have said, Jack Jones looks good. The ASU rookie corner that I didn't like the pick at all, but they say he looks great. Look, be careful. Temper that right now, okay? Because corners, you could see the fluid of the hips, you could see that, but until you get other guys on that field, until you get the linebackers out with coverage, until you get pads on, until you see how they come off the ball and how you mix in to a reactionary call on the field on defense, that you're changing up the coverages and working in unison with your other secondary, let's temper that. I don't think you gain as much from that, but it's
I
good
will-
to see. It's good to see that they're on the good end of it.
And then speaking on the good end, just
Like,
before
say
we
they look
go,
like shit, and that's about the problem.
but just before we go on the good end, am I able to now start up a Mac Mania?
I know.
Is that looking good?
Well, you and your washes that you love so
Yeah,
much.
well, that's the thing. I mean, if they suck, I got to start something new. I got to create a whole new wash, create a whole
He
new
looks like he's in
graphic.
great.
Just,
He
yeah.
looks like he's in great shape. He looks like he's in
that's
great shape. To me, he's a little thin, but he looks a lot more athletic. Guys are commenting on that. You heard Bourne talk about that. I think he needs to strengthen up, bulk up a little bit more as far as muscle, because he's going to take beatings and hits.
Maybe he's following that TB12 yoga sort of whatever.
You know what? You had to, right? You had to. You had to do it. You had to do it. The game. Did you see the match earlier this week? We'll talk about that next show, because I think Mox has some things to talk about the match where Aaron Rodgers and Brady played golf against Mahomes and Allen.
Oh yeah, that'll be a good one.
We'll talk about that. But and notable misses from OTAs: Isaiah Wynn, Judon, Brown, Peppers. Forget Judon. I just want to leave you all with this: Isaiah Wynn and Brown, the two tackles. We're going to have a huge issue in depth at tackle, because these two fat asses should be at OTAs conditioning. And the fact that they're not there, look, you two guys are not good enough to miss 1 second of practice. Not the way you shuffle your feet or don't. So I would be concerned about the offensive tackle spot not showing up for OTAs. Mandatory minicamp gets started middle of June, next week or two. So we'll have a lot more to say on that in the coming week. So Real Deal was and Joe, for our people out there.
For our people.
I want to hear from you in Heated Hotline. Tell me what you think about the OTAs. Are we in trouble? Can you glean anything from it? Heated Hotline. Make sure you call. So Real Deal was presented by Special Sauce Podcast. What's your special sauce? SpecialSaucePodcast.com. Time to go. Joe, excellent job today.
Oh, thanks.
Appreciate you filling in, running double duty. So thank you for that. Thank you for listening out in the nation. Hey, all our shows are up for you to listen, watch, follow us, subscribe, hit those little links that take you right into the show. We want to hear from you in Heated Hotline. So make sure you're calling on that, and come back next week, 7 p.m. Eastern. Celtics continue their quest for 18. We'll have all the coverage on that. I'm sure Mark will not be at a loss for words for this series. And look, anything you bring to the table in Heated Hotline, we're going to be ready. CORSO and Catone, the Real Deal, New England feel. See you next Saturday.